Clearfield, Pennsylvania, on the evening of May 13th, 2009, Lily Thompson, a 42-year-old housewife who, by all accounts, lived a picture-perfect life. To everyone around her, she was the model wife and mother, devoted to her husband Greg and their 2 teenage sons. She spent her days volunteering at the local church, hosting community gatherings, and chatting with her neighbors over coffee. But beneath the surface, Lily was drowning in loneliness and yearning for something more. Greg Thompson was a hard-working man, a successful contractor who had built a comfortable life for his family. But with success came long hours and frequent business trips, leaving Lily alone for days, sometimes weeks at a time. The once passionate marriage had grown cold over the years, their conversations reduced to logistical updates about the boys or Greg's next project. And though they lived under the same roof, they were more like strangers passing in the night. It was during one of Greg's business trips that Lily's life took an unexpected turn. Next door to the Thompsons lived the Dunhams, a friendly couple with a daughter, Emma, who had recently returned home after graduating from college. Emma was 24, vibrant and full of life. She was the kind of girl who lit up a room with an infectious laugh and a magnetic personality that drew people to her. Emma had grown up in Clearfield, and everyone knew her as the bright, cheerful girl who had excelled at everything she did. But now, as she transitioned into adulthood, she was figuring out her next steps, whether to stay in town or chase bigger dreams elsewhere. Lily and Emma had known each other for years, but it wasn't until that fateful summer of 2009 that they began to form an unexpected bond. At first, it was innocent. Emma would stop by the Thompsons' house to chat with Lily while Greg was away. They would sit on the back porch, sipping iced tea, talking about everything from Emma's future plans to Lily's frustrations with her distant husband. There was a natural ease between them, a connection that Lily hadn't felt in years, but as the summer days grew longer, so did the time they spent together. What started as casual conversations soon turned into something much more dangerous. There was an unspoken attraction between them, a spark that neither of them acknowledged but both felt. And it wasn't long before that spark ignited into a fire they couldn't control. It was a warm evening in late July, when everything changed. Greg was out of town as usual, and Lily had invited Emma over for dinner. They ate on the patio, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and pink as they laughed and shared stories. The wine flowed freely, and as the night wore on, the atmosphere between them shifted, charged with tension, desire, and danger. Lily, for the first time in years, felt truly seen. Emma, with her youthful energy and carefree spirit, awakened something in her that had been dormant for too long, and as their eyes met across the table, the line between right and wrong blurred. Before either of them could stop it, their friendship crossed a boundary that could never be uncrossed. From that night on, their secret affair began. What had started as an innocent connection quickly spiraled into a forbidden relationship fueled by passion, secrecy, and a sense of liberation that neither of them had anticipated. They met in hidden corners of the neighborhood, stealing moments when no one was watching. Every glance, every touch, every kiss was a risk. But for Lily, the thrill of it all was intoxicating. Yet beneath the excitement, there was a growing sense of dread. Lily knew the consequences if their secret ever came out. Clearfield was a small town, and rumors spread like wildfire. She had everything to lose, her family, her reputation, her entire life as she knew it. And as the weeks went by, the weight of their affair began to take its toll. What had once felt exhilarating now felt suffocating, and the guilt gnawed at her every day. But Emma, young and free-spirited, didn't feel the same way. She was drawn deeper into the affair, oblivious to the danger that lay ahead. For her, this was just the beginning of something new, something exciting. She didn't see the storm brewing on the horizon. the storm that would soon tear both their lives apart. As the summer came to an end, the tension between them reached a breaking point. Lily, desperate to keep her affair hidden, began to pull away. But Emma wasn't ready to let go, and that decision would lead them both down a dark and deadly path. And in the quiet town of Clearfield, a tragedy was about to unfold that no one could have seen coming. The days after that summer evening became a whirlwind of emotions for Lily. The secret affair with Emma had ignited a fire in her life, but that fire was quickly spiraling out of control. As much as she craved the excitement, the thrill of doing something so forbidden, the guilt that followed was unbearable. Every time she kissed Emma, every time they touched, Lily could feel the weight of her life crumbling beneath her. She became paranoid, constantly looking over her shoulder, worrying that someone, anyone, might catch a glimpse of what was really going on. The thought of her husband Greg finding out terrified her. He may have been distant, focused on his career, but if he ever discovered her betrayal, she knew their marriage would be over. The quiet stability she had clung to for so many years would shatter, and she couldn't bear the idea of losing everything she had built with him. Emma, on the other hand, was growing bolder. She had always been the type to live freely, without worrying about the consequences, and this affair was no different. For Emma, it was an adventure, a whirlwind romance with an older woman that made her feel powerful and alive. She couldn't understand why Lily was so afraid. They were careful, after all. No one had noticed and no one had asked questions, yet. But Lily couldn't shake the feeling that it was only a matter of time before their secret was exposed. The neighbors always watched, always gossiped. The walls of Clearfield had ears, and rumors spread like wildfire. And while Emma enjoyed the thrill of sneaking around, the affair was starting to feel more dangerous than exciting. Greg came home more often than usual in those weeks, his schedule seemingly less packed than before. Whether he sensed something or was just tired of traveling, Lily couldn't tell. His presence made her feel trapped. Trapped between the life she had always known and the new life she was living in secret. Every dinner with Greg was excruciating, filled with silence and awkward small talk. She would sit across from him, nodding along to his stories of work, all the while wondering if he could see the guilt in her eyes. Could he smell Emma's perfume on her clothes? Could he sense the growing distance between them? One evening, as they sat together in the living room after dinner, Greg finally voiced what had been weighing on his mind. "You've been different lately," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "Distant. Is something going on, Lily?" Lily's heart pounded in her chest. Her mind raced for a response. Something believable, something that would explain away the tension. But Greg was looking at her with those eyes, the eyes of a man who wasn't fooled easily. "I'm just tired, that's all," Lily lied, forcing a smile. "You know, with the kids, the house, everything, it's been a lot lately." Greg nodded slowly, but the doubt lingered in his expression. He wasn't convinced, but he didn't press the issue any further. Instead, he stood up, gave her a long, lingering look, and then went upstairs to bed. That night, as Lily lay beside him, wide awake, she knew something had to change. She couldn't keep living like this, lying to her husband, sneaking around with Emma, constantly on edge. The affair had spiraled too far, and it was only a matter of time before the truth came out. But ending, it wasn't as simple as she thought. The next time she saw Emma, she tried to bring it up. They were sitting in the backyard of Emma's house, hidden from view by the tall privacy fence. The tension in the air was palpable as Lily hesitated, unsure of how to start the conversation. "Emma, I think we need to stop," Lily finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Emma looked up from her phone, her brow furrowing in confusion. "What do you mean, stop?" Us. We can't keep doing this. It's too dangerous. If anyone finds out..." "Lily, Emma interrupted, her voice firm. "No one is going to find out. We've been careful." Lily shook her head. "You don't understand. My life. I can't lose everything. My family, my husband, my kids. It's not just about us." Emma's expression hardened. She set her phone down and leaned in closer, her eyes locking with Lily's. "So what? You're just going to end this? After everything?" Lily looked away, guilt gnawing at her. "It's not that simple." "Yes, it is," Emma said, her voice rising. "You're scared, I get it. But I'm not just some fling you can throw away when things get complicated." The words hit Lily like a punch to the gut. She hadn't meant to make Emma feel that way, but deep down, she knew Emma was right. It wasn't just about the affair, it was about everything that had come with it. The passion, the excitement, the sense of being alive again. And yet, the fear was overwhelming. "I'm sorry," Lily whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you." Emma's face softened for a moment, but only briefly. Her voice turned cold as she stood up, her body tense. "If you walk away from me, Lily, I'll tell everyone." Lily's heart dropped. The threat hung heavy in the air between them, and for the first time she realized just how trapped she was. Emma wasn't the carefree girl she had fallen for. She was something far more dangerous, someone willing to do whatever it took to keep control. And now Lily was caught in a deadly game she never wanted to play. As the days passed after that tense conversation, the tension between Lily and Emma only grew. Every time Lily saw Emma, there was a dark cloud hanging over them, one that threatened to burst at any moment. The fear of exposure weighed heavily on Lily, consuming her every waking thought. She couldn't shake the feeling that Emma's threat wasn't just an idle warning. If Emma decided to tell the truth, everything Lily had built, her family, her reputation, would be destroyed in an instant. Emma, on the other hand, seemed to thrive on the power she now held over Lily. She became more reckless, pushing the boundaries of their secrecy. She'd show up at Lily's house unannounced, texting her constantly, and even made subtle remarks when Greg was around, as if daring Lily to call her bluff. It was a dangerous game, and Lily knew it couldn't go on much longer. One evening, as Lily was preparing dinner, there was a knock on the door. Her heart sank, knowing it could only be one person. She quickly glanced at Greg, who was sitting in the living room, oblivious to the turmoil swirling around them. She wiped her hands on a towel and opened the door to find Emma standing there, her expression unreadable. "What are you doing here?" Lily whispered harshly, stepping outside and closing the door behind her. Emma crossed her arms, her eyes scanning the quiet street. "I wanted to talk." "Not here," Lily hissed, glancing nervously at the windows, worried that Greg or one of the neighbors might see them. But Emma didn't budge. "I don't care anymore, Lily. I'm done hiding. Either you tell him or I will." Lily felt the blood drain from her face. "Are you insane? You can't just show up here like this. Greg is inside. The kids are inside." "I don't care about your perfect little family," Emma snapped, her voice low but venomous. "I'm tired of being your dirty secret." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. "You don't understand. I can't lose them. This has to stop, Emma." But Emma's expression didn't soften. Instead, her eyes flashed with anger. "You should have thought of that before. You can't just use me and then walk away. It doesn't work like that." Panic clawed at Lily's chest. She glanced back at the house, the lights from the living room casting a warm glow through the windows. Inside, Greg sat peacefully, unaware of the storm brewing just outside his door. "Please, Emma," Lily begged, her voice breaking. "Don't do this. I'll do anything, just... Please don't tell him." Emma stepped closer, her voice a whisper now. "Anything." Lily nodded, her throat tight with fear. She was desperate, and Emma could see it. There was no way out, no way to fix the mess she had created. Emma had her completely cornered, and the worst part was, she knew it. As Emma finally turned to leave, she gave Lily one last chilling look. "I'll be in touch," she said softly. "Don't forget what I said." Lily stood there for a long time after Emma walked away, staring into the darkness. She had never felt so trapped, so helpless. The affair had spiraled out of control, and now Emma held all the cards. There was no escaping her grip, not anymore. Lily's life had become a living nightmare. Every moment was consumed by fear. Fear of Emma's next move, fear of Greg finding out, and fear of the inevitable collapse of her entire world. Emma's threats lingered over her like a dark storm cloud, growing heavier each day. The pressure was unbearable, and Lily could feel herself unraveling, but she had no choice. Emma wasn't going away, and Lily's desperation was becoming more dangerous by the second. Days passed, and Emma's texts became more frequent, more demanding. She wanted more than just Lily's attention now. She wanted control. Emma threatened to show up at family gatherings, or worse, confront Greg in person. The very thought of that sent Lily spiraling. She couldn't allow that to happen. But what could she do? She had already tried reasoning with Emma, begging her, but nothing worked. Emma thrived on the chaos she was causing, her power over Lily giving her a twisted satisfaction. On the night of February 14th, Valentine's Day, Greg had planned a quiet dinner for the two of them. It was his attempt to rekindle the spark that had been slowly fading in their marriage, a sweet gesture to bring them back together. But Lily's heart wasn't in it. Her mind was elsewhere, on Emma and the cryptic message she had sent that afternoon. "See you soon." Lily's anxiety reached a boiling point. Every knock, every phone ring felt like a countdown to disaster. Greg, oblivious to the storm raging inside his wife, poured wine and talked about their plans for the future, completely unaware that everything was about to fall apart. Then a knock at the door. Lily's heart stopped. She knew it was Emma. She could feel it. Greg, still unaware, stood to answer, but Lily grabbed his arm, her grip tighter than she intended. "I'll get it," she said, her voice trembling. Greg looked at her with confusion, but shrugged and sat back down. Lily approached the door, her heart pounding in her ears. She opened it slowly, praying it wasn't her worst fear come to life. But there, standing in the doorway, was Emma, dressed casually as if she belonged there, a smug look on her face. "Happy Valentine's Day, Lily," Emma whispered, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Lily's world spun. She couldn't breathe. She stepped outside, shutting the door behind her, and faced Emma, her voice barely a whisper. "What are you doing here? I warned you, didn't I?" Emma smiled, but her eyes were cold. "I told you this would happen." Lily's desperation boiled over into fury. "You need to leave, now." But Emma wasn't backing down. "Or what? You'll make me? You don't have the guts." In that moment, something inside Lily snapped. The fear, the guilt, the overwhelming pressure, it all came to a head. She couldn't take it anymore. Without thinking, her hands reached for Emma, shoving her away from the house, her voice rising in panic. But Emma, fueled by her own twisted desires, fought back. In the struggle, Lily's hands found their way around Emma's neck. At first, it was just to push her away, to stop her, but then something darker took hold. The anger, the betrayal, the months of torment, it all surged through her as she squeezed harder. Emma gasped, her hands clawing at Lily's, trying to break free, but Lily's grip only tightened. It was a moment of blind rage, and before she could even process what was happening, Emma's body went limp, collapsing to the ground. Lily stumbled back, her heart racing, her hands trembling. Emma lay still, her lifeless eyes staring back at Lily. The realization of what she had done crashed over her like a tidal wave. She had killed her. Emma was dead. Panicking, Lily dragged Emma's body to the side of the house, her mind racing with what to do next. She couldn't let anyone find out. She couldn't let Greg know. But the reality of what she had done was undeniable. There was no undoing this, no turning back. As she stood there, staring at the body of the woman who had once been her lover, now her victim, the weight of her actions finally settled in. Lily had gone too far, and now there was no escape. Inside, Greg called out, "Lily, is everything okay?" Lily looked back at the house, the life she had destroyed, and whispered to herself, "No, nothing will ever be okay again."